Mogul Motivation, educating and empowering entrepreneurs 1 week at a time, presented by True Stories Media. And I am your host, Antoine Twiz Taylor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mogul Motivation. Welcome back. I'm happy that you are here. If this is your first time listening, this podcast is for the aspiring entrepreneur who is trying to get over that hump and make it happen. This podcast is also for anybody with any dream that wants to aspire higher and elevate themselves to success. This week's Monday conversation, I am pleased to have with me Mariah Williams, financial services professional. Mariah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So Mariah, you are the money woman. You know all about money. You know about finance. That's your craft, and that's what we're going to talk about today because it's something that's very important that a lot of people lack. Not just entrepreneurs, but families and individuals. They lack the knowledge on all of these things. I just want to start out with asking you, how did you get to this point? Tell us about your background. What did you study? How did you end up becoming so passionate about finance and educating others?
Yes, absolutely. Again, thank you so much for having me on today. A little bit about me. So I was born and raised here in Chicago. I come from a pretty middle-class family, and my mother was always a teacher. My father worked for the Department of Corrections. And education was always stressed in my family. It was always something that was important, and we saw it as a key to success. And so for me, I didn't have a choice but to, do well in school and go away to college and be successful. That was the standard that my parents held me to. So I've always held education in high regard. And so I ended up, graduating from the University of Illinois, and I had the intention on becoming a teacher. I wanted to be an English teacher. I, wanted to be an educator. That's what I wanted to do. And so I ended up going into Teach for America. I taught sixth grade social studies in the Bronx for 6 weeks. And I finally realized that I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't want to be in the classroom, at least. And so I came home. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I just leaned heavily on my spiritual compass, and I asked God, what do you want me to do? What is it that, you have called for me to do? How can I use my passion for teaching and educating to, serve you? And so then I ended up being with a company that served individuals on Medicare and older adults. And my patients would always come to me and they would ask me questions about their plans and, how their plans worked. And I became really interested in their insurance plans and not only how it worked, but how it worked for them and being able to educate them on, some of the features of their plans. And then came the complaints like, if I would have known about this 20 years ago, then I would have been able to, be a little bit better off now. And that's when it clicked for me, that I was supposed to be the educator of people in their, not only their insurance needs, but also their financial needs, and helping them to really understand how they can have a better quality of life by not only having that knowledge, but using that knowledge and that resource that they have available to, increase their quality of life. And so from that, my journey, came to be in the financial services profession, to educate people and to get them to use the knowledge that is out here for them.
And that's amazing because, like you said, you come from an educational background. You say your mother is a teacher, and you had no choice but to go into college and basically do all the things right. Unfortunately, there's so many people in the Black community who don't have that background, and people with your background have a tendency to sometimes say, "Well, figure it out," So that's beautiful that you're not selfish with that knowledge. You're basically giving it back. You're being unselfish with it, and it's your passion now. Before we get deep into it, first let me ask you this question: is it ever too late for somebody to get their finances and their credit together?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
It's never too late. I think the unfortunate part is when people give up too early and they feel that, I'm too old, or, I don't have enough money, or, giving all of these excuses. But the reality of it is it starts with you. You have to make the decision that you want better for your life. And once you've made that decision, then you seek out those resources. You seek out people that, like me, who can help you to understand where to start. You can always start somewhere, but you have to make that decision. It's up to you.
All right, and we're going to assume that everybody listening right now has made that decision. So let's Let's start the process at step one, breaking the cycle of financial illiteracy and mismanagement. How does one today, what's the first things that they need to do to really get the ball rolling on this?
Absolutely. As I said, it definitely takes that first step of acknowledging, right, that this is an issue. I have a discrepancy, whether it's in my financial plan, whether it's in my source of income, my family, my credit, whatever that is, you have to acknowledge that thing. And if you don't, then you can't move forward, right? Then we also have to have the conversation with either our families or, even with ourselves, and start to seek that professional guidance and that professional help. Like I said, it's one thing to have the knowledge, but it's another thing to actually put that knowledge to use. And so once you've done that, then you kind of gather up all of your resources. You figure out, what it is that I have. Where do I want to be? Start envisioning yourself in 5 or 10 years. What is retirement going to look like for you? What is your family going to look like? You have to be able to envision that so that you can set the necessary goals that you need to set in order to be able to achieve them. And then once you've done that, you need to really understand the process. Understand that it takes time to get to a certain point. It's not going to happen overnight. There's no, get rich quick scheme that you can do. I mean, you have to put in the work, but you have to be willing to accept that there's an issue, gather all your information and talk through that issue, and then be able to work with the process and let the process work for you.
Okay, so if somebody was working, like let's talk about if someone was working a job right now, they have their 9 to 5, and they're tired of living paycheck to paycheck, right? Um, how do you get out of that hole? Because like it seems as if a lot of people's money is already spent before they even get it. Before it even hits their bank account. How do they start to get away from that? Like what do you do? Because a lot of people will end up robbing Peter to pay Paul. They're gonna run to these payday loan stores, which ironically you see most of them in black neighborhoods and minority neighborhoods. Or they're always gonna borrow money from this person, that person. How do you get out of this hole? You know what I mean? Because I know family members like that. I've been like that at one point. But I'm blessed that I've gotten out of it. How do other people get out of it?
Absolutely. I think budgeting is the first step, and kind of cutting out unnecessary expenses. Because a lot of times what we find is that it's not necessarily a lack of money, but just a reallocation of our money. What are some things that you can cut out? If you're going to get your nails done every 2 weeks or every week or whatever, maybe you can cut that out for a month.
Yeah.
Because that's at least $80. I know for me as a woman, you go and get your nails done, your feet done, your eyebrows, and all of that. Little things like that. Coffee habits. You going to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts every morning, and you spending $3, $4, $5 on the coffee every week. That's $100 a week almost.
Wow.
On just stuff like that. Your cable. Cutting out little things that may not benefit you, and making sacrifices. It's really going to take a lot of sacrifice to figure out, if I need to just save this amount of money for, this period of time, being able to see what it is that you can maybe cut out and make that sacrifice. That's why it's important to goal set. You need to know what it is that it's going to take. With my clients, for example, in retirement, I talk to them about making sure that you know your number. Do you know your number? What is that savings goal that you're going to get to? What do you need to make in order to achieve this goal, in order to get out of debt or buy that house or buy that car, whatever it is? It needs to be written down, and you need to figure out where you can cut things in order to make that happen.
I'm glad that you said that because that's exactly one of the things that I did when I was pulling myself out the hole. I would treat myself as if I was broke the entire time, even though I had money. I would act like I was broke. So I'll tell myself if I was broke, would I really be eating out right now? You know what I'm saying? Or if I was broke, would I really be going to get this and X, Y, and Z? I would humble myself and basically act as if I was still broke. Basically living below my means until basically I was at a better place. I was at a better spot in life. And I think a lot of us don't really have the discipline to do it. That's really the unfortunate thing, because we're too busy trying to keep up with the Joneses because, this social media era, it's like you always want to keep up with the next person. The next person went on this trip, I got to go on this trip. The next person got, the new iPhone, I got to get the new iPhone. You know what I'm saying? So we got to avoid those traps. So I'm glad that you brought up budgeting. Do you use any type of budgeting apps, or like how do you budget your money?
So I'm kind of old school. I do, spreadsheets
Okay.
and, figuring out what it is that my bills are every month, what income that I intend on, getting for that month. And I also use some savings app. I was using Digit.
Yeah, I love Digit. I use Digit.
Because it takes a little bit here and there. You don't really notice it. It's a few cents. And then it puts it away for you in an account that's, a little bit separate. So definitely for me, I'm a visual learner, so I just need to see it. If I can see it written down, if I know what my goal is, know what I have to pay for that month, know what's coming in that month, and then, paying yourself first. So don't save after you've spent, save before you spend, because then you put yourself, I give myself an allowance. So I say, if I'm only going to get $100 this month, then that's what I'm going to have. And everything else goes to, either savings or, bills or whatever it is. But give yourself an allowance. Give yourself a true budget and stick to it. And if it's gone, it's gone. And don't try to, deter from that. But get yourself in a system that works for you. Like I said, for me, it's, just putting it on paper and using that Digit app to kind of, save periodically. I would also recommend having your savings detached from your regular checking and savings account. Put it somewhere that's not so accessible to you. Because we have what we call a goes into, goes out to account. It goes in and it comes out. It comes right back out because it's so accessible. Like for me, with Bank of America, for example, I have it on my phone. I can see my checking, I can see my savings, and I can just transfer, right? So that's difficult when you're trying to save and you're trying to, put that money aside. So I have a different savings account that I have to, take a different route home. It's not necessarily in my direction. It's a bit of a hassle for me to go and get it. So I would recommend, if you're going to save, put it in a place that's not as accessible to you.
Okay. Perfect. So now we got the saving and the budgeting. So now we're getting ourselves back in better track. Let's talk about retirement now, because retirement is something that a lot of us don't talk about. Again, whether you're an entrepreneur or you have a career or a job, retirement is something we don't talk about. So tell us about retirement. When should we start thinking about it, and how do we start moving towards that for those who are working and those who are just in business for themselves?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite topics ever. I can go on and on about retirement, but some key things are start now.
Okay.
Like today.
The
sooner you start, the better it is. Retirement, I think often people think it's like, I'm old now. I'm done working. I'm, old and slumped over. But I think we need to reframe how we look at retirement. Retirement should be a point in time where you work because you want to and not because you have to. And so when you're doing things that you love or whatever, it's like I don't have to work to survive anymore. Now I'm just kind of working because I love volunteering, or I work because I don't have anything else to do, right? Yeah. So starting as soon as you can will allow you to be able to kind of live your life and do all the things you don't get a chance to do because you're working. Especially if you're working a 9 to 5, it can be kind of difficult because you're exchanging your time for paycheck. Which is fine, but you want to make sure that you're putting, like I said, paying yourself first. Another key point is envisioning what retirement looks like. Like I said, knowing your retirement number. Do you know the exact amount of money that you'll need to retire at the age of, say, 65? Ask yourself that question. I know my number is 1.65. Right, I have to come up with $1,650,000 if I want to retire at 65 at my current income right now.
Wow.
Okay. So if that's the number, right? If I know that that's my goal, then I can start breaking it down and figuring out, okay, I have this amount in my 401k, and I can apply the rule of 72, which is, you divide the interest rate that you're getting from your money divided by 72, and it'll tell you how long it'll take for your money to double, right?
Okay.
So applying the rule of 72, so in adding and subtracting that from the number of years that you have left until retirement. So doing those little things like that will help you to stay on track with your goals. It's recommended that you should be saving at least 10% of your income for retirement.
Is that yearly?
Yes.
Okay.
per year. And then now where you save it is a different conversation, right? How you save it and all of that can be, discussed with a professional, but you have to start thinking about it now. And they suggest that you even start saving for retirement as early as 18, 18 years old, especially for millennials, because, when our parents and our grandparents were working, they had pensions and, Social Security and all of that, all of these, sort of safe type of retirement vehicles. But now, for people in, this newer age, millennials, I don't know if we'll have Social Security. We may or may not have Social Security.
It's not looking good.
It's not. And a pension, if you get a job with a pension, it's very rare that you're going to get a job with a pension. And they might have a 401k, but in order for you to have, some type of steady paycheck in retirement, if you're not saving for something, you're going to work till you die. And that's just the reality of it. So you have to save now. You have to start now.
That's the reality for a lot of people. They work till they die, literally. It's so many people in their 60s, their 70s that's working because they have to.
Right.
Not because they want to volunteer, as you said, or they just have nothing else to do at home.
Right.
And it's very unfortunate, and no one should live like that. No one should live like that. I hate seeing that. So how do what are some ways we save for our retirement? Like we mentioned 401k pensions, but what are some other ways that we can do this?
So there's a few different ways. And what I normally do with my clients is I draw, like I said, I'm a visual person. I draw a little table. You have pre-tax retirement vehicles and you have after-tax retirement vehicles. And on your pre-tax side, you have your company's 401k, you might have an IRA, you might have some stocks or some, mutual funds or something like that. Your 457 plans, your deferred comp plans, all of those things usually offered to you by your employer, right? So if your employer offers a 401k, take it, right? Take it and only match up to what the company will match. Do not do anything over that. And once you've, maxed that out or, escalated all of those options, then you can start moving over into the after-tax side, because it's important to not only diversify your retirement, which means having your money in different buckets in terms of your risk tolerance, but also your tax treatments as well. So that's one thing that a lot of people often forget, is that even though you save all your money in your 401k, tax deferred is not tax free. So you still have to pay taxes on that. And that can put a dent in the amount of money that you think you might have for retirement.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you're participating in your employer plans, but there are also other plans outside of your employer that are after tax that you should also consider. Some like a Roth IRA or some bond funds or things like that, municipal bonds. Even your savings account, depending on, what kind of savings you're doing, and also cash value life insurance. Cash value life insurance, there are lots of articles on this new way of saving for retirement that's tax-free income in retirement. So some of those are some really great ways that you can save on both the pre-tax side and the after-tax side for retirement. And you have to, like I said, weigh your options and figure out which one is best for you and have some combination of both. You don't want to just have all your money in your 401k, because once you retire, you're going to run out of money if all of your money is in that one vehicle, for sure.
And these are some methods that entrepreneurs can use as well for retirement.
Well, for entrepreneurs, it's a little bit different because they're not able to get a 401k. They have to, maybe do an IRA. They can do like an individual retirement account. They can certainly open up their own, Roth IRA. But if you have like a business where you're working and you also may have like some employees up under you, there's what's called a co-plan for you. So I mean, there are different names and basically just different tax codes for entrepreneurs, but it's the same concept in terms of pre-tax and after-tax. They're just different names for the types of accounts that they offer entrepreneurs, but it's the same concept. You want to start now, you want to put away money on the pre-tax side and the after-tax side, no matter what your profession is.
Got you. So we talked about savings, then we talked about retirement. I just want to pause for a little minute. Educate us on life insurance, because I see this is a big issue in the Black community as well. GoFundMe is not a proper life insurance fund. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely.
I see that a lot. Educate us a little bit on this real quick, because I feel that needs to be talked about.
Yes. Life insurance is a necessity. It's not an option. It's not a added expense. It's something that is integral in not only just your life, but for your family as well. And I want to take a step back, if you'll allow me, because I want to talk about just kind of this mindset about life insurance for African Americans specifically. We always have seen life insurance as, just death. Somebody dying, we got to put them in the ground, right? And we don't see it as our counterparts see it as a way to leave a legacy.
Okay.
And to build generational wealth. Because when we came to this country, we were the commodity. They put life insurance on us because we were the property. We were the asset. And now that, we've progressed and got to a different point, we kind of missed out on a lot of that education in terms of how this has been used to set families up for the rest of their lives. The Rockefellers and the Kennedys and, the Carnegies, all of these names ring bells, and you may not have ever even seen a Carnegie or a Rockefeller, but you know that these family names are prominent because they left life insurance policies for their families to continue that legacy. And so I want us to take a mental shift from just thinking about life insurance as a way for us to bury our family members. And look at it as more of a tool to set your family up for a greater future and have a legacy. Insurance is a love letter. It's really just an opportunity for you to tell your family that I love you and I want you to succeed. I want you to be greater than, what we currently are. And so you have to be able to open your mind up to that, at least that. And really realize that this isn't just something that you're leaving. Some people tell me, I don't want to leave anything. I don't want nobody to get rich off of me. And, I ain't leaving, nothing. And it hurts me because it's
selfish.
It's like you're sitting here, your wife is sitting right next to you. And you're sitting here telling me that you don't want to leave her anything.
Wow.
I mean, the people have gotten into marital disputes because it's like you're sitting next to me and you're telling me you don't want to sign this paperwork for us to do what we need to do, and it causes that rift. So I want us to really take a different shift in terms of how we think about it, because it's not just for burial. It's for setting up a legacy, creating what I call trust fund babies, right?
Okay.
I want there to be more trust fund babies in the Black community. We deserve that. Different cultures, they do this all the time. Like, this is how they succeed. When you think about Asian cultures and Indian cultures and Jewish cultures and even our Caucasian brothers and sisters, like, this is what they do. And we've been slow to the beat. And we complain about them being in our neighborhoods, taking over our neighborhoods with their businesses and being more successful than we are. The wealth gap in America is not because they're smarter than us. It's not because they have more education. It's not because they even have more money. It's because they put things in place to build a legacy. Okay, it's one thing to have money while you're living, but you die broke, and your family dies broke with you. So what is your legacy? What will you be leaving behind? And that's what life insurance is. It's not just, me putting you in the ground. I'm going to just cremate them. Absolutely not.
Wow. So that's powerful. So when you just said you die broke, in the Black community, so many broke people die.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens to a family after 5 broke people have died within that family? Now you're way below the poverty level. So life insurance, you can use that for more things than putting them in the ground and cremating them. And that's something that a lot of us didn't know. I mean, I knew some of those things, but you just educated me right now at this moment on a lot. Wow, I'm speechless because, I never really looked at it from that angle, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't either. Because that can benefit us in so many ways in the Black community, as far as, like you said, not only just creating a legacy for the family, but that family can then go on and, build a business and, employ more people in that same community. Yeah. It's a domino effect.
I was just a part of a $50 billion empowerment plan that was sponsored by the African American market at New York Life. And they were on a campaign to put $50 billion of cash value life insurance back into African American communities. And we just finished up this year. We did reach our $50 billion mark, and we celebrated in Washington, D.C., but we're still going.
Yeah.
And so we've circulated $50 billion of real wealth that can be used in African American communities across the country. And that speaks volumes because, being a part of that was amazing, because I know that I've placed at least, $5 million into some of my clients that I've done business with. And that's so important because it's not just about right now. Some people are like, oh, life insurance is not tangible. They can't touch it. They can't go and, go buy a car with it. I mean, whatever. But they don't think about it like that because it's not instant gratification. Yeah. We live in this microwave society where we want everything right now.
Right now, and we need to see it right now.
Exactly. But you just had a baby, right? And your baby is 15 days old, and you love this little baby so much, but you didn't think enough of him to set something up for him for the future because of one reason or another. But now there's an opportunity for you to not only be able to fund his college education, but to help him open that business and to help him to go further in life so he doesn't have to be on the corner, selling drugs or doing whatever, because mama and daddy thought enough of me to have this pot of money sitting for me when I get out of high school or throughout high school and college. And it gives you a different leg up. It's difficult to pull yourself up from bootstraps when you don't have boots.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't just say, go fend for yourself, go, figure it out. No, we live by the adage, it takes a village. So we have to come together as a village, and even within our immediate families, and pull together. You have to do that. You can't keep having this mentality of, oh, as long as I'm good, I'm straight, or me and mine's good. No, it has to be a collective effort. Everybody has to put in. Everybody has to make sure that we can collectively come out of this cycle of poverty.
Do you watch The Breakfast Club or listen to The Breakfast Club at all?
Yes.
Do you remember the interview Dame Dash did on The Breakfast Club? It was like a year ago or so, maybe a year plus. Well, it was real controversial because he got very heated. Dame Dash has always been a very flamboyant character, with his personality. But nevertheless, he got into a real heated debate with, Charlamagne the God and DJ Envy and all them. Because he was saying he hustles for his last name, not his first name. And he was basically pushing the whole entrepreneurship, notion. And he said he hustles for his last name, not the first name, because his last name is the only thing that lives on after him. Dame Dash may die, but the Dash family won't die. And, that really just, reminded me of everything you just said now. We don't think about our last name enough.
Right.
Not too many of us do, at least. All of those other ethnicities you talked about, the vast majority of them, they do think about their last names. Mm-hmm. That's why, China is, heavy investors in Africa. They're heavy investors here in America.
Right.
They think about their last names. We need to think about our last name more. Williams, Taylor, we need to think about that more. Mm-hmm. And not just, self and individuality. That's what just came to mind with everything you just said.
And it's something that is difficult, in my position working in the African American community, because I have to remind myself that before I came into this profession, I didn't think much of life insurance either. So I know that there are people that are just not aware. But the issue that I have is that once you become aware and you still decide to sit and not move and still become stagnant, is when there becomes a problem. We get insurance on our phones, we get insurance on our cars, we get insurance on our homes, all things that are tangible and can break and everything else, but we don't have insurance on our lives. And I was just recently in Dallas with 33 of the top agents in my company, and one of the facilitators said something that really stuck out to me. He said, you can't leave the closing of your home without your homeowner's insurance, and you can't drive off the lot of the car lot in your car without having car insurance. But some people dare to leave the hospital with their newborn baby without having life insurance.
That's deep.
And to me, that just spoke volumes, because now you've just had this new life that is going to depend on you so heavily. I mean, when I think about, and I'm not trying to be morbid, but the amount of mothers that even die in childbirth who don't have anything.
Yeah.
And it's like there's not a sense of urgency with life insurance. And unfortunately, it's caused people to, now when there's a crisis, now the storm is hit. And now you want me to come and try to help you. Now you want someone to figure it out. But it's like you have to be proactive and not reactive to things. And I think that's just, in life in general, not just with this. We have to make sure that we're properly planning for things, even when, it might be uncomfortable to do.
Wow. So, how do we get in contact with you, Mariah Williams? Like, if somebody has some questions for you or anything like that, how can they get in contact with you?
Just give me a call. I can be reached on my cell phone or at my office line, 773-306-5833, or at my office, 312-454-2275. Just give me a call, even if you have questions, just general questions about anything, whether it's insurance related or retirement related, any financial questions that you have. I'm more than willing to help and give you advice on that.
Okay, and what's one last thing you would like to say to everyone listening out there, entrepreneur, just regular old person working a day-to-day job, just trying to get by and build a bigger legacy for himself, herself, and their family? What would you like to say to them?
I would say the biggest thing that you can do right now is to prepare. Prepare and don't procrastinate. If you really look at where it is that you want to be in life, look at your goals and look at your desires, and really lay out the steps that it takes to get you to where you need to go. And make sure that those goals are measurable and that you hold yourself accountable to them. And don't give up on them. And just keep going at them and know that there's a greater purpose for your life. And once you figure that out and you have that blueprint, it's always, easier to get on track and to stay on track.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare and go after it from Mariah Williams. So that concludes our Monday conversation this week. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, let's continue to work, let's continue to imagine reality, and let's make it happen. You have a great day.